Hey guys, what's up? Vance finally coming back with another video. You'll notice the background has changed a little bit. We've got this new Lich King banner over here, and up over here we've got a little picture of Sylvanas. Got some goodies over Christmas break. Been away for a little while, so I figured I'd show you guys some of the new background and stuff. You'll also notice I am standing up. I got a new sit-stand desk, so the new setup is a little bit easier if I just do these from standing up. It's good for my health, good for the video, good stuff. I know it's been quite some time since my last video. I'm really sorry about that. I'll be putting out a little YouTube video, quick short one, just kind of talking about where I've been, what I've been up to, and why this one took so long. In the last one, we covered all the different factions, the different classes, and the races. Before that, we talked about the servers and how to pick one. You see now, I'm actually on a new server. My guild just recently moved to Mal'Ganis about a month ago to get a little bit further with our progression into Castle Nathria. We have gotten ahead of the curve, and we are starting to work towards the mythic bosses, so that's been pretty fun. So today's video, we're going to be talking about Exile's Reach, the kind of new player experience that they recently put into the game with the Shadowlands expansion. I've seen some other videos talking about the Exile's Reach experience, and I kind of wanted to walk through it both for the new player as well as the experienced player, because honestly, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a really good way for you to just get a new perspective as to what a new player might feel like when you're, been playing the game for as long as I have. So you can see here I've rolled up a new Troll Mage level 1 named Jemendathos, and we're going to get logged in and I'm going to show you guys what Exile's Reach kind of looks like and how this plays out. Real quick before we get too far into the video, just a quick reminder that I do stream my guild's raids Tuesdays and Thursdays, hopefully starting up again very soon. And if you've seen some of my other stuff and you really liked it and you want to continue seeing more, thankfully things are starting to settle down a little bit. Should have some more time for some more videos. So if you guys want to drop down, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps the channel out a bunch. Thank you so much to everybody who's been subscribing and watching the videos as I've been gone and leaving me very kind notes asking me to make more content. So here you go. This one's for you guys. So we're going to get logged into this new Troll Mage Jemendathos, and I'm going to start showing you guys around. Here we go. For you new players out there, you'll get into this loading screen. It might take a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on, and then you're going to hit this new cutscene. So basically the concept behind this whole setup, the whole reason you're here, you're a new soldier for the Horde or the Alliance, and this new island has been found, and your faction decided that they want to go see what's on this island, go see if there's new resources to gather, new powerful artifacts to gain. And so your first mission as a member of the Horde or the Alliance is to go to this new island and go chart it, go figure out what's going on. And you're going to meet some new friends along the way. You're going to get to learn all about some of the world. You're going to get to learn about your character, how to play it. And this should take you from level 1 to about level 10. Sometimes you'll finish at like a high level 9. Sometimes you might even be able to push to level 11. Just depends on how many mobs you kill. Now for you new players out there, you might have seen the screen looked a lot different than what you might see when you first log in. I had some things called add-ons. We talked about this in a previous video called Cursebreaker on how to install and update add-ons. They changed the way that your game looks. They changed some of the information that's displayed. But when you first log in for the first time, never having played before, this is kind of what you're going to see. Now, if that's a topic that you guys would find interesting, I'm more than happy to do a video talking about why do people use add-ons, what do they do, how do they help you as a player, and what are some of the really good ones that I've used for a while. Now, like I told you guys, this is a level 1 to level 10 experience. This means that they are going to give you the most tutorial-like experience that you're going to get in World of Warcraft. I really suggest that you follow along with what they say and how they show you to do things, because they do actually do a very good job of teaching you how the game works, so that when you get out into the main world, you actually have a really good chance of picking up the game and moving along pretty quickly. So you can see here, it says position your hands like this and click OK. So I'm going to position my hand, WASD, and the spacebar, and then I'm going to click OK. So it wants me to take a look around. You can see it says to right click and move your mouse around. So if you do that, you can see your character will pivot back and forth. Let's get outside of this orc. You can see your character will look right and left. This is different than changing the camera. This is actually changing the way that your character is facing. And so that's very important distinction. If you're attacking a target that's over here and you need to look behind you, right click will make your character turn around and you won't actually be able to make those attacks. So what you can do, I don't know if they cover this in the tutorial, but what you can do is you can actually just hold left click, and that will pan just the camera. So when you're running around in a battleground or you're in a really important raid or dungeon and you need to look behind you to see if something's coming, that's how you do that. You just left click and move the mouse and that'll pivot behind you, but then you can continue looking with your character, continue looking that direction. Alright, so it wants me to walk around, get an idea. You can see WASD are the keys that I'm pushing right now. W will take your character forward, A will take your character and turn them left, D will turn them right, and S will make them back paddle. Okay. Now, something that's important to note, turning with your A and D keys is actually significantly slower than just holding down right click and turning. So that is something to keep in mind. Let's say, for example, if you were talking to this Myth-Dran Dawn tracker and you needed to turn around really quickly to go attack this target, D, it pans at a certain speed and you can't adjust that speed. Whereas with right click, you can turn real quick. So something to keep in mind. You're going to want to try to get used to right click turning rather than relying on A and D. Additionally, you're also going to want to avoid using the S key for walking backwards. Now, it's not always a bad idea. You'll hear some people in the community say, oh, you should just unbind the S key. You should never backpedal. I disagree with that very, very strongly. It's especially useful for tank players. So if you're playing like a protection warrior or a protection paladin, brewmaster monk, things like that. If you need some more information, jump back to the last video. They'll help you out there. But the S key can be very helpful for tanks if you need to, because when you're tanking, you'd never want to turn your back to the target because it creates a weak spot. You're not able to block, you're not able to dodge, you can't parry. You're going to take full damage if you get hit. Whereas if you are holding the S key, you will progressively move backwards and you will still be able to face your target while also moving the target away from where you want to move it from. So keep that in mind. Alright, so we've done some walking around. Something you might see me do, just kind of as a piece of habit, is you'll see my character strafe left and right like this. This will occur if you use the Q and E keys on your keyboard, or if you hold right click and hit A and D. Now that's something that's good for you to note. Some people like to bind the Q and E keys because they've played a lot of League of Legends or something like that, where Q and E are major buttons. I personally don't do that. I actually do use the Q and E for strafing. I find that I'm able to reach plenty of keybinds at the current moment, and then if I need some more, I also have my MMO mouse, and I can show you guys some more information about that if you guys want to find out some more about the gear and stuff that I use. Just let me know. So if you see me doing this, you'll know why that's happening and how that's happening. So we'll walk around a little bit. The tutorial will eventually tell us, like, hey, you should talk to this warlord Brekka. So we can go over here. Now to talk to them, it's telling me right click to talk. And then you're going to get this little quest window. And you can read all the quest text if you want to. This will give you far more understanding of what's actually happening in the world, rather than just right click and click accept. Now, if you're not super into the storyline of the game and you want to know, here's my objective, here's what I need to go kill, or here's what I need to go collect, you can look for the quest objective right here. This says warm up by fighting a combat dummy. Sweet, easy enough. So then you can click accept and that'll pick up the quest. Now you can decline quests after reading them. Obviously during this tutorial you have to do all of the quests in order to leave the island, so I don't suggest clicking the decline button, but I guess it's there if you really want to. So we'll accept the quest, and it's going to tell me to go fight this target dummy. Okay, so you can see them over here. Something that's very good to know is you will see these little health bars above enemies, and you'll also see that any enemy that's attackable has this little yellow ring around them. That little yellow ring will indicate that this is indeed an enemy that you can attack. And to do that, you're going to target them by left-clicking on them. There's also the tab key on your keyboard, and you'll see that cycles between the targets I'm currently looking at. That's one way that you can do it as well. However, I would suggest getting used to clicking, because when you click on a target, you are more likely to pick the correct target to attack, and especially when you start getting into more dungeons, and especially with raids, there might be something called a priority target or a priority kill, where you want to make sure you're targeting the specific enemy. Usually it'll have something marked like this with a little star or a skull, and what that means is like, hey, if there's a skull, kill skull first, right? So you want to make sure that you actually target this guy when you're, trying to figure out who you're attacking. So now that I've got that combat dummy targeted, it's telling me press 1 to cast Frostbolt. Don't move when casting. That's very important to know for you guys who want to play mages or warlocks, etc. If you're casting spells, you can't cast most spells on the move. There are exceptions to the rule, and you know, you can definitely learn more about those from all the different classes and reading some class guides. But you want to make sure that you aren't just moving while you're casting, because you're going to interrupt your cast and you're not going to do any damage. The other thing to note is that you can click on the bar down here and your character will start casting. I don't recommend getting used to this if you can help it. Clicking is not a bad idea for some things like, you know, mounting up on your mount or getting a food buff or drinking a potion. But when you're in the heat of combat, you're definitely going to be faster with your reaction times based on some studies that players have done and different things that other more advanced YouTubers like Preach Gaming, they've done some great videos about this topic, so definitely check them out if you're interested in learning why you shouldn't click. The thing to note is that clicking on your spells, if you have a whole bar of spells down here and then you have a whole nother row up here, you're clicking and moving between these, and that could be time where you're not actually making attacks. So that's kind of the general concept. So we're going to target this combat dummy, and we're going to press 1 to cast Frostbolt. Now you're going to see it's going to shoot off a spell. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage. He's going to still have some health. And so it says, press it again. So it basically wants you to just press this Frostbolt button until you kill the combat dummy. So we'll just keep casting some spells here. No big deal. All right, cool. So once that dies, you're going to see it's going to tell me completed quest complete. Return to the quest giver. Okay, well, where the heck is the quest giver? So one thing you can usually find is this little question mark. And you can see it's pretty easy to do. You can also click on this name of the quest here, and it will typically open up a map of where you're currently at and show you where that quest turns in. The only reason that's not working right now is because I'm on this boat in the middle of the sea, and so it's telling me, hey, you're in the North Sea. It's not going to show me exactly where that boat is and things like that. This is a very temporary setup, and you'll see why in a moment. So when you find your quest giver, you're going to go up to them, you're going to right click, just like you did to pick up the quest. You're going to right click and talk to them. They're going to give you a little pat on the back. They're going to throw some rewards at you. So you're going to give me 55 copper pieces and some experience points. Sweet, let's turn in the quest. All right, I've gained some experience points. Now you'll see I'm going to level up when this bar down here is filled. So I need 10 more experience and I'm going to level up. So I'm just going to real quick, I'm just going to kill this combat dummy and see if it gives me some XP. And just like that, we're level 2. All right, we're moving up. Only 58 more to go. All right, so I've leveled up. You can see it's over here. It's going to tell me to open up my spellbook and find Fire Blast. So let's do that. And then it says drag Fire Blast onto my action bar. Sure, we can do that. So that's just a left click and drag. And then when you let go, it's going to drop that spell onto your action bar. So it's still telling me that I've gained some experience. This will just kind of go away once you start doing some quests, so don't worry too much about this. So you can see this boy Grunt Throg here. He's got a quest for me. Let's go ahead and talk to him, see what he's got. He wants to spar. All right, perfect. So we're going to accept the quest. And he's going to turn around. He says, I'll take my position, strike first, and strike hard. So as a mage, being a caster, you kind of want to try to start combat when you're not up too close to your enemy. So of course, if you're like this with your enemy and you start attacking, he can hit you right away. With a mage or a warlock or a druid, anything that's a ranged spellcaster or a hunter, things like that, you're going to want to try to start from at range. And of course, with melee, the closer you can start the fight with the enemy, the better, unless the spell that you're trying to cast requires some kind of distance, like a warrior charge, things like that. So you'll learn some more about the class, especially as you play through this, just based on, if you go back, you watch my last video, get an idea of what those classes look like, and then you play through this experience once or twice with a couple different classes, then you'll really start to understand some of the different pieces that work in this game. So for me, I'm going to target my boy Grunt Throg here, and I'm going to start from way back here. I have plenty of space, I'm feeling nice and safe and secure. So we're going to start off with Frostbolt, because you can see over here in the bottom right, this is going to launch a bolt of frost at the enemy, doing a little bit of damage and slowing down their movement speed, which means that by the time he gets to me, I will have been able to cast multiple spells at him, and I will reduce how much damage I've taken as a result. So we're going to go ahead and start casting here. And then he says, never run from your foe, victory or death. Now, I don't always agree with Mr. Grunt Throg here. This time he's saying always face your enemy. That's very true. If you notice, if I'm over here and I'm trying to cast a spell, it says your target needs to be in front of you. So I'm going to turn back around. We're going to cast a couple more spells at this guy. Boom, boom. I concede your strength will see our mission through. Sweet. So quest completed. He's going to go back to his little spot, and then he's going to let us turn in his quest. Now we're level 3. So we've got another new spell, Frost Nova. So it's telling me go ahead and put this on my bar. Sure, let's do it. So one thing I like to recommend, when you start getting new spells, you can see in your spell book here, you're going to find what level you get those spells at, and you can, ahead of time, you can look through and see what does this spell actually do for me. So, for example, we have Blink. So I get this next level at level 4. I'm going to read it to you. I get to teleport forward 20 yards or until I reach an obstacle, and it frees me from any stuns and bonds. So this is super good, especially if you have an enemy that's attacking you and they stun you. You can blink away. Not only will that get rid of the stun, but it'll also put you 20 yards away from the enemy, where you could then perhaps get off something like a Frost Nova, which blasts all enemies within a 12 yards radius for no damage at this level, and then freezes them in place for 8 seconds. If you do damage to them, it will interrupt that. So you can blink, and then you can hit Frost Nova, and that will lock an enemy down. You can make some more space for yourself, and then go back to casting Frost Bolts. So kind of these things that as you start leveling up and you start thinking about the different spells, you can start to imagine how these spells could be used. Something else I'm going to show you. Fire Blast is a quick little spell that deals 15 damage to the enemy, but you'll see that instead of having a cast time like Frostbolt where it says 2-second cast, this one says instant. Now, something important to note is that you can actually cast an instant spell on the move. Now, if I target one of these target dummies and I'm strafing back and forth, I can actually hit this Fire Blast, bam, and still do damage while I'm moving. So let's just keep it up. We can see, they're going to ask me to go find Warlord Brekka, and we're going to have this little flash, and it's like, oh crap, we have a storm. So the Warlord comes down, she says, oh, brace yourselves. And then we got to talk to Warlord Brekka. So we talk to her, and we're going to get a nice little cutscene kind of showing what happens. Why are we on Exile's Reach? How did we get here? What happened? I'm not going to make you guys wait through the whole cutscene. I'm going to go ahead and skip it. I have seen this a couple of times. If you're interested, go play through the experience, see what it's like. So we wake up on the island. You can see our ship has been destroyed. We're broken ship down over there. There's some scattered supplies all over the place. My friends look to be injured, and the Warlord's over here. She's got a quest for me. So let's go find out what she wants. So let's talk to her. She wants me to go recover 6 first aid kits from Murlocs. Previously, we had the quest to attack and kill a target dummy. We had the quest to, do a spar with our little friend Grunt Throg. So now, this is your first real quest, if you will. This is the very similar style to what you're going to see in a lot of quests in World of Warcraft, where it's go kill this enemy and gather this thing from it. What that's asking you to do here is to go kill these Murlocs and then loot the Murloc and obtain these materials from them. And I'll show you kind of how that works. So you go up this little path here. You'll be able to tell where your quests actually happen in a couple of different ways. So if I move over here, you'll see there's not really a whole lot going on, and you're like, well, how do I know where the Murlocs are? I was just talking to the Warlord. I don't see any Murlocs around here. It might not be intuitive if you've never played a game like this before. So if you look up here in your mini-map, you'll see this little blue circle. If you were to zoom in a little bit, you can actually see that this blue circle, when you hover over it, it says 0 of 6 first aid kits recovered from defeated Murlocs. So what this is telling you to do is to go to this area and stay within the area, maybe on the outskirts of the area. Sometimes you'll find enemies that aren't exactly in that location, and that's okay. There's a couple of ways to see if that monster, like that enemy, will actually be beneficial for you, and I'll show you how that works. So we're going to run up here, and now you're going to start seeing, oh, Murloc Water Shaper and Murloc Spear Hunters and stuff. Are these the guys I need to kill? So, as you're walking through, these guys have yellow health and yellow names. That means they're not going to attack you on sight. They are considered a passive enemy, so they will only attack you if you attack them. If you see one with a red name or a red health bar, that means they are going to come after you if you get within range. So keep that in mind. You can definitely pull too many enemies by walking into an area that you're not supposed to. So to be able to tell if this is the enemy you should be fighting, you can hover over the enemy, and in the bottom right corner in the tooltip, you will see it says this is a Murloc Water Shaper, it's a level 2 humanoid, and then you'll see the name of the quest we're on, Murloc Mania, and you'll see 0 of 6 first aid kits recovered from defeated Murlocs. If you see that, great, you're targeting the right stuff. Go ahead and kill that and gather what you need. If you don't see that, it's probably a similar enemy. There are some times where maybe you have to kill a Water Shaper and you have to kill some Spear Hunters, where it'll say, okay, you know, you've killed this water shaper, but to complete the quest, you need to kill some spear hunters or something like that. So keep that in mind. Now, I killed this Murloc. You can see we're going to loot the corpse. So it says right click on the corpse, and that's going to loot. Now, you're not on default going to have something called auto loot. That is something I recommend picking up. Typically, bag space is not as big of a deal in retail WoW versus classic. So in classic, I might suggest not turning on auto loot. But in retail, bag space is typically not that much of a problem. So what auto loot will do is when you right click on the corpse, it will actually just pull in all of the items from that corpse and put them into your bag. But as a new player, if you want to start reading the items and getting an idea of what they do, this is a great way to start. So you get this little item window. You can see we have 13 copper and a first aid kit. So you can grab the loot by clicking on it. And then if you open up your bag, it's down here in the bottom right corner, or you can hit B. You'll see, oh, where's my item? I looted a first aid kit, but I don't have it. Some quest items are going to end up not showing up in your bag. They're going to be in kind of almost like a limbo state where it's technically on your character, but it's not in your bags. That's something that Blizzard did pretty recently, where quest items aren't always in your bag, and that just helps kind of free up some space. All right, so from this point, I've shown you kind of the basics on how combat works, how quests work, how to pick them up, how to, you know, see what the objectives are, and how to start killing stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the next time that Blizzard prompts with another piece of the tutorial. That way I don't have to sit here and explain, oh, I'm just killing this Murloc. Okay, now I'm just killing this Murloc. What you're going to do from this point as a new player, you're going to kind of just continue going through, follow the prompts, and I will show you some new concepts as they come up. Now, a quick little tidbit, you can actually go into the game settings by going to escape. One thing I would like to recommend turning on is auto loot. So if you go to the interface options here in controls, you'll see a button that says auto loot. And what that does is when you auto loot, when you right click on a corpse, it's going to pick up all the items on that corpse. Another little tidbit, when you are leveling up, you can actually kill multiple enemies. They'll have these little shinies when they're eligible to be looted. You can actually pick up items from both of these corpses at the same time by right-clicking on one. This will do something called Aoe Looting. It's a relatively newer thing in WoW. It didn't actually used to be in the game up until I think it was Legion when they introduced that. So if you right-click on this Murloc Water Shaper, it will actually pick up items from both of these corpses, and then you'll see the shinies go away. So you don't actually have to pick them up individually, corpse by corpse. And lastly, once I have completed that quest, you can see I have this little yellow tracker. And as I move away from it, it's going to point in the direction I need to go. If I look at that tracker, it'll tell me, hey, you need to go 157 yards to turn in the quest that you were working on. So if you follow that little marker, it will lead you to victory. All right, so we are on to the next type of quest that you're going to run into all the time in World of Warcraft. And that is one where you have to use an item from your bags to do something. So you can see we've got our first aid kits, and we need to help out our friend Bo here. What you're going to do is you're going to left click on him to target him, and it's going to tell you to get close. So now that I'm close to him, it's going to tell you to use quest item on your target. You can see I've got this first aid kit over here on the right next to my quest. It's also here in my bags, so keep that in mind. You can do it from either place. What you're going to do here is if you're going to click from here, it's going to be a left click, and if it's from here, it's going to be a right click. Just kind of a weird idiosyncrasy that you need to learn about. So let's click on this. Now we're bandaging up my boy Bo, and he's going to get all healed up, and he's going to appreciate our help, and we're going to go help out the next party member. So Mithran Dawn Tracker, we're going to help him out. And then our friend Lana Jordan. And there we go. So that quest is ready to complete. On to the next. All right, so next up, something you need to know. Sometimes you're going to encounter a quest where you have to interact with something in the world that's not something that you have already gotten in your bags. So for example, this quest here, it's telling me to use this Choppy Booster Mark V to scout the area. And you can see this little robot here. What you're going to do is you're going to right click on this, and that's going to take you into the sky, and then you're going to start flying around. Now sometimes you're going to have quests where you'll have this kind of an objective where you're going to fly around in some kind of airship or on top of a dragon, things like that. And you're going to need to like bomb the enemies down below. What that'll do is that'll change your action bar down here at the bottom, and you'll have new abilities that you can only access while you are currently on that airship or on that dragon, etc. And conveniently, working my way through the storyline, this is actually a perfect example of what I was just talking about. So right now, you can see my action bar down here has changed, and it's asking me to blow up a bunch of these undead creatures. So we're just using this Resizer Blast ability here, and it's just popping down and blasting all these guys all at once. Alright, so a little bit further along on the island, you might come across something on your minimap that looks like a little bit of a treasure chest. You can see over here, it's highlighted in a purple hue. And if you go over to it, you can actually right-click on this treasure chest, and your character will bend down and pick up the items within. Let's take a look. We right-click, we open it up, and we get some supplies. We got a stitched cloth tunic, we got some waterlogged supplies, and some healing potions. Very cool. Alright, so further along on the island, we get a quest to go recover Herbert's book from the lake. And you can see that's actually underwater. So first thing to note, your character can swim. They do have a breath bar, so if you go underwater, your character has a certain amount of time they can spend underwater before they run out of breath. When you run out of breath, your character will start taking a little bit of damage, and it'll kind of ramp up the further along you are. So the next thing to note is to swim, you basically just walk into the water, and your character will typically float on the top surface here. Okay, now for this quest, that's probably good enough. You can swim over here, you can right-click on this book, and you'll pick it up. Now sometimes you might get a quest that'll say, hey, you need to go underwater to get these items. The best way to go underwater is, again, by using your right click, and you can just aim to the bottom of the pool and then start swimming. So start moving forward like you normally would, and now you're underwater and you're swimming around just like this. And if you need to go back to the surface, you just point your camera to the top, and then you can just kind of angle it out. So now your character will swim like normal. So don't mind the change of wardrobe. I decided that I was going to set aside some time following day to go ahead and finish up this tutorial. But I wanted to come back and show you guys this quest. So for this quest, we've been polymorphed into an ogre to hide us and get us into the ogre stronghold. And you might not notice that there's anything weird going on until you realize that this quest is asking me to type/wave. So here's something that you might do if you're relatively new. You'll hit the enter key to start typing, you'll type the /wave like it asks you to, and you'll just type. Now, it works for this quest, but you might want to keep in mind that if you want to emote to somebody, you can actually target them and then type /wave, and you'll see in chat that it says, instead of just you wave, it will say you wave at Gorgroth. So keep that in mind if you're trying to do emotes. This one says to type /dance now, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that. And now everybody else is busting a move. Alright, so we have made it to the end, and this is the last quest. And you'll see that this quest is actually called Dungeon Dark Maul Citadel. And our quest objective is to complete the dungeon, the Dark Maul Citadel. Now a dungeon is typically, with most players, it is a group activity that you do with 5 players, a tank, which is a protection warrior, protection paladin, guardian druid, etc., a healer, so some kind of like a holy priest or a restoration shaman, things like that. And then 3 damage dealers. So that could be mages or warlocks or rogues. It could also be like a retribution paladin for melee, things of that nature. Different classes do different things. If you need a quick refresher on classes, go check the last video and that'll tell you all about it. Now, what you need to know about this one is that this one can actually be done with NPCs, or our little party of friends here. They'll help us out if we need them to. But it'll also try to put other players in our group instead. So if you see other players in your group, then you will know what's happening. It won't be just NPCs. Dungeons are almost always done with other players. I think this is actually the only one in the game so far that does any kind of NPC-based system. But it is something to note that is something they've done a little bit of an experiment with. And I could almost see them going in that route. I know some other popular MMOs have done something similar. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this quest, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what that dungeon looks like. Now to get into this dungeon, we need to use something called the Dungeon Finder. And you can see down here it's telling me to use the Dungeon Finder to enter Dark Maul Citadel. So if I hit I, or I click on this little eyeball here in the bottom right, it'll bring up this window. Now you'll see I've got some options here. So right now I'm in the Dungeon Finder. You can also find Raid Finder and pre-made groups. These are things that you'll need to learn more about when you get to a higher level. This one doesn't unlock until 50, and this one doesn't unlock until you're at max level, so keep that in mind. Now, over here on the right side, you can see the type is set to specific dungeons, and then we've got these little boxes up here. These are the different roles that you can play. So the shield is for the tank, The little plus sign is for the healer, and the sword is for damage dealer. And then this last one here is a flag, and this is that it indicates you are an experienced player, and that you can kind of help guide people through a dungeon and help explain mechanics and things of that nature. As a new player, don't click this. Let somebody else have this flag. It doesn't usually mean anything, but it is something that can be useful to help indicate that it is something you're interested in helping guide some newer players through something. You'll see the type with specific dungeons. We can actually expand this. Now, normally, outside of this experience, once you're level 10 or level 15 or so, you'll actually see some different options here. But you can always go to the specific dungeons to find a specific dungeon that you want to run. For this instance, we're going to run this Dark Maul Citadel dungeon. So we click this little box here, and then we hit Find Group. This is going to put us into a queue. Now you'll see this one was instant, and you can see this will give you some information. So there's 0 out of 2 bosses defeated. I'm going to be a damage dealer. Now, let's say you queued up for this, expecting this to take a little bit longer, but you know, it kind of popped up quickly, and you're like, oh crap, I'm not quite ready. You can always hit this leave queue button and then re-queue later. Now that will put you back at the beginning of the line, so you gotta wait until it's your turn again. So keep that in mind, but that is an option in case you aren't quite ready to start a dungeon. For this case, we're gonna hit enter, and you'll see it's gonna teleport us in. And I think we actually do have another player in here. Yeah, Shamanati from Area 52 is actually in our party, so let's go help him out. So you can see these mobs are level 10, and I'm level 9, so that's not the end of the world. And you'll see we have some assistance from our friends here. We've got Shuja Grimmax and Warlord Brekka Grimmax. They're helping us out. But primarily it's going to be me and my buddy Shamanati here. You'll see some of these enemies have a lot of hit points, and they have this golden border around them. This golden border means that they are an elite monster. That doesn't really indicate too much, except that you might not be able to take it on by yourself, and that you might need some assistance. So in a dungeon, they're kind of a linear experience. So you can see this is the portal here that we come into, and then you come through here, and there's a couple of enemies, and then you go up these stairs. Dungeons are almost always set up in a linear path. There are some where there's different various ways that you can go. If that's the case, I recommend that you just follow your tank. So feel free to just stick around and follow your tank. They'll guide you to the place that they need to go. The tank is kind of the de facto leader of a party when you join up. So we're going to kill these couple guys here. One thing I will point out here in the interface, you'll see that I have this 88% and this 109% up at the top. This is indicating how much threat I have on this target. Now, threat is a concept that tanks primarily deal with, but damage dealers need to know about it. What happens is as you're casting spells at an enemy, the enemy starts to recognize that you are a threat. Now, the tank is almost always going to maintain the threat level. And when that's the case, then they are going to be the one that's being attacked. Threat indicates who the boss or the target should be attacking. So right now we've got Shuja, Shuja is healing us, and Warlord Brekka is the one that is tanking for us. So, you know, she's doing the main work. You'll see my threat percentage is very, very low here. That is the indication of a good tank. You'll see this guy's doing a seismic slam, and he pointed at me. I'm going to move out of the way, just kind of instinctively, but if you were to stand in that, you would take some damage, and then it would give you an indication saying, hey, just so you know, you need to make sure you dodge things like this. A good rule of thumb is if the boss is ever facing your direction, don't let that happen. That will almost always indicate that you're going to get hit by some kind of special mechanic or something. So what's really nice about this little dungeon here is it's a very, very quick dungeon. It's a very good way to get you just a little bit of exposure to what a dungeon looks like, what a dungeon feels like, what are the different roles that people play in a dungeon. It's a good way to kind of get a new player some level of experience with a dungeon without, you know, making it a whole ordeal. Now, one thing you might be wondering is why even do a dungeon? You know, what's the purpose? Dungeons are really, really good, especially for getting some gear. The bosses typically drop a piece of loot. You'll actually see off that first boss. Our friend Shamanati here got this Tunk's Lil Whomper. It's a blue mace, so that's a rare quality. And you can just kind of use these items to empower your character a little bit. So hopefully we'll get a piece of loot off the last boss here. Alright, so as we make it up to the last boss, it looks like we're going to go fight an undead dragon. So that'll be fun. We got to kill these little corpses here. These things here, this is called trash. If you're in a dungeon and you hear people talking about trash, they're typically talking about the little small mobs, whether they are elites or whether they are, just a regular monster. A trash mob is basically something that's not a boss monster. So if you hear somebody calling it trash, that's what they're talking about. So we're beating up Gorgroth here. So you see these purple swirls. I'm going to move out of there with the expectation that those are probably going to explode. Yep, and then they're going to do some damage to you if you stand in there. But it looks like he has been the final sacrifice. And here comes this big dragon. So now we're going to have to fight the dragon, I think. All right, there it is. So now we've got to fight this big dragon. So you can see he's doing necrotic breath. Good thing to note, dragons almost always have a breath weapon, which is going to shoot in kind of a cone in front of them. And then they're usually going to have some kind of a tail swipe or a wing buffet. So it looks like wing buffet, that just knocks everybody back. No big deal. A lot of times they'll have a tail swipe, and tail swipes will hit you with the tail. Sometimes they'll do damage to you. So he's doing necrotic breath. I'm going to stand not in front of him directly, and you'll see he blasts in that area. So definitely don't want to find yourself on the receiving end of one of those. Here comes another wing buffet. He's going to knock us back. No biggie. We just go ahead and keep on casting our spells here. And we're just going to keep damaging him. Now, a lot of bosses are going to have a lot more going on than this. This is a very good introductory. So that necrotic breath isn't going to kill you if it touches you the first time. Now, if you stand in it a few times and you don't get any healing done, then yeah, you might die. I have actually had some trouble with this boss in the past. So let's loot the boss here, and we got this Dark Maul Ritual Stone. Looks like it's a nice little trinket, and gets some intellect and some versatility. So we'll go ahead and put that on here, and there you go. Dungeon completed, and that completes the quest. So we just got to talk to our Warlord Grimmaxe to leave here. And it looks like the Horde has come to reinforce us and get us the heck out of this island. Perfect. So we've got our reinforcements. We're ready to head to the mainland, and I can show you guys kind of what happens now that you've completed this tutorial experience. So as we land here in Orgrimmar, we get another little cutscene just to welcome you to what Orgrimmar is. Orgrimmar is the main capital city of the Horde Alliance. You'll fly to Stormwind, and you'll have a very similar cinematic here. And this is nice. It just gives you a little bit of background about what the city's like, what the people are, and you can see they're fighting off these little test dummies with a little Alliance flag. So you can tell that the Alliance and the Horde are at war with one another. So I'm going to cancel the cinematic. You're going to get a quest here from Warlord Brekka if you're Horde, and then Alliance, you'll have someone very similar to Warlord Brekka standing here waiting for you. Now, I recommend that as a new player, you take this Welcome to Orgrimmar quest. This will give you kind of a little example of, or give you a little tour of the city, get to show you around, see the different sites, what the different sections of the city are. That'll be a really good way for you to learn about what you can actually do in this city. Now, for me, I've been here for hundreds and hundreds of hours. I don't really need a tour, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this. I know my way around Orgrimmar, and I'm going to skip. Now, as a new player, you are going to basically enter here, and you will have some kind of a breadcrumb quest that will take you into the Battle for Azeroth questing. That is what I would recommend, is to start out by doing Battle for Azeroth, because that is the most recent expansion before Shadowlands. That'll give you a really good example of what the story is leading up to the Shadowlands, and you'll have a little bit more background as to who these people are, what they're doing, and why. You also have this exclamation point, and this says Battle for Azeroth mission statement. So if you don't have a breadcrumb quest that's telling you to go to Battle for Azeroth, this quest here on your map will take you there. So follow that if you don't have one already. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helps you out when you decide to take the plunge into World of Warcraft for the first time, and you'll have a little better understanding of what's going on and how does the world work, how do I kill stuff, how do I quest, things like that. If this video did help you, please drop a like, get subscribed for more content. We do have some more stuff planned coming up very soon. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.